Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the NECA Ironman Mark 43 in the 1/4 inch scale. He stands just about 19 inches tall, so he definitely has some size to him. He's loaded with paint detail and of course lots of sculpted detail, but my favorite part is that he has light up eyes, chest, and hands. Now I've heard that the last Iron Man, I guess it was the last one that they made, didn't have the proper colors for the lights, and I will tell you this one is all white, so that's very good. Lights up really nicely actually, so I'm very pleased with that. There are a couple of issues with this figure, but none that I think are going to really be a problem. The paint detail is mostly really spot on. The golds and the reds are super clean. Everything looks really good there. We do have a little bit of kind of dull paintwork down here. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if the battle damage paintwork just kind of oversprayed a little bit or something, but down here doesn't look great, but for the most part everything else looks good. We have this kind of black wash and some silver scraping and lots of things like that going on throughout, so it looks really nice. The red is pretty uniform and it's pretty metallic, so that looks good. And all in all, it's a really solid looking figure. The proportions are a little bit iffy, but that's not a real big deal. Once you get imposed, that's basically a non-issue. We do have 1.5 other issues that are pretty serious, but the rest are all pretty good things. So let's just run through what we get in the package. We have the 2 fist hands, which do not light up. They are just standard, normal hands. They just peg on. They're all ball pegs. And then we have the 2 repulsor blast hands, which peg on at an angle, so you can see those peg in kind of at the top of the palm. And they do light up, of course. They light up really nicely. Then we have the hands that are on him, which peg in straight, but they're basically the same as the repulsor hands, and they light up again. So that's very cool. And I'll show you photos at the end with the eyes and everything all lit up so you can see that. But for this part, I can't really show you the lights in the body with all of the studio lights on. As far as articulation goes, we're pretty good on this guy. That's where 2 of the issues, or 1.5 issues, come in. The head is on a ball peg that moves around pretty well. You can bring it up a little bit, and you can bring it down, and you can move it around side to side, so you get pretty good posability. Mine's a little floppy on the top joint. It doesn't really cause an issue, but it's something to note. It will flop a little bit, and I think that's because there's kind of a split here where the 2 pieces are put together, and mine is not put together all the way, so I'm guessing that's why it's a little bit floppy, but it's not a huge deal and I can still get imposed pretty well. The torso is on at least a single ball peg. It could be a double. It does lean forward and back and it does rotate, but I feel like if I force it, it might end up breaking, so be careful with that. You do get to lean it around though. The waist is supposed to swivel, I think, but mine doesn't want to go, so be aware of that. For the shoulders, this is where we have an issue. The shoulder pads have a double hinge and they're connected to the torso, and that's where the issue really is. If that hinge had been put here so that the shoulder pads moved with the arm, we wouldn't have that problem, but as you see, if we move the arm forward, the shoulder pad really just goes completely out of place and looks not good at all. So that's a problem. A lot of companies do this where they connect the shoulder pad to the torso, and it looks okay in a standard neutral pose, but as soon as you move that arm, it really becomes an issue. We do have the ball hinge up here, so full range of motion technically speaking. You have your bicep swivel, your hinge. You can move the arm around everywhere, but that shoulder pad not going anywhere. So that's a serious problem. All they needed to do was put that on the shoulder. If they connected that to the shoulder and put a hinge on it, the same hinge even, so that when you lifted the arm up, it could kind of adjust, it would have been perfect, but it's okay once you get imposed in a pose that doesn't look too bad, but otherwise it is going to be an issue. You do get your double jointed elbow, which has pretty good range. I mean, it looks really no problem at all, and you have this kind of soft elbow piece to hide everything, so that's pretty good. No problems there. The entire forearm has kind of like a sleeve, so this whole thing can rotate, and that is where this is connected. The hand guard that has the hinge, I don't think they're supposed to pop off. Mine did, but I guess that's not a big deal because it pegs back in. But luckily, well, that is kind of annoying. Luckily, having this forearm that rotates, it allows you to line the hand guard up with the hand. Otherwise, you really can't do that because the hand moves. This is fixed to the forearm. It would have definitely been better for that to be connected to the hand, but since this rotates, it kind of solves that issue. So you can still, if you wanted to, let's put a repulsor hand on there. Be very careful as you swap out the parts because you will get the LEDs loose in there, so you don't want to break those. So these also take a little bit of force, so definitely not something for little kids, but I'm not sure it's supposed to be anyway. So if you wanted to line up the hand guard with the hand, you really do have to rotate this forearm piece around and then put the hand back to where you wanted it. And that works okay. It's not ideal, but it's definitely acceptable, and he can do repulsor blast poses, so that's, it's okay. It's not perfect, but it'll do. For the hips, we have the full T-jointed ball hinge hips. They go all the way out to the side, no problem at all. That's really good. But there is a problem, and that is you can't move them forward. This is kind of soft, but there's nowhere for anything to go. So you really can't move the leg that much. So that's a problem. I didn't include that in my 1.5 problems, so be aware of that. We do have a full thigh swivel that works just fine. So the hips are really close to being great, but then they aren't. For the knees, we have a double jointed knee, which works really well. Full range of motion, no problem at all there, so that's good, and the way it collapses on itself is really good. And now here's the other part that is kind of a problem. For the ankle, it's just a ball peg, so the foot itself is really, really limited. Not a good situation there. These guys are hinged up front, but they don't really do much, and they don't close all the way, so that's a problem. These guys are hinged back here, but you can't really move the foot that much. So you're not going to be able to do much with the legs. The ankles and then the hips, way too limited. If you want to put them in a flight pose, kind of like this, you can do that, but that's going to be kind of the limitations of the figure, unfortunately. We do have shoulder flaps back here. I don't know how many people are going to use those, but they do work nicely, so that's all right. You do have the switch here for the torso, here for the head, and then each forearm has one also. So it's a really cool figure with some kind of serious hang-ups, but I'm pretty sure for the price point, I think I still recommend it. It's a pretty darn cool looking figure, especially once you get imposed. Despite the problems, I think it is worth it. I mean, you can't spend $100 on much these days and get your money's worth, and I think this is one of the things where that's not true. I think you're getting your money's worth, so I do recommend it. I think it's pretty darn cool. Stick around for the photos at the end so you can see them all lit up, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. In the meantime, keep collecting.